Hey guys, I'm Major Frenchy. You might remember me from such video as Destroy Your Old Back to the Future cabinet. Well, today I'm going to talk about this Legends Pinball virtual pinball cabinet. If you haven't seen my previous video, I got a full review about this unit, what it does and what it's capable of, but that's a great entry level for people that just want to get into virtual pinball with no headache. You can actually also plug a computer into this directly and use the screens to be able to play Pinball FX3 and, let's say, for example, Future Pinball or VPX, which is... Now, in order to turn this into the cab I want, because that's going to be cool. That's going to be real cool. If you've seen my previous video, the way my cab was, well, that's going to be even better because I'm using the latest parts. And today's going to be focus of the video is going to be the parts that I'm going to use to build this. Now, we're going to need a few things I'm going to talk about in details about all the stuff I will need. This is the Arno's Rig Master. It's like the brain, basically, that will everything connects to this in order to trigger the different fan solenoids and so on. I've got an upcoming tutorial on how to connect this step by step with a written guide. So look forward to this. The parts get expensive. All the parts that I'm going to use are about $1,500 plus and minus, not including the cabinet or the computer. So it's on top of everything else. So it gets expensive, but you do not have to start that way. You can just start by adding one component at a time, and as you have money, you will be able to complete your build. I hope you find this exciting. I certainly do. I love hardware. And let's just jump right into it. Here is the wide variety of hardware that I'm going to use to enable force feedback on the virtual pinball cabinet. Now, it changed a little bit from my previous build. I've upgraded some of the components to stuff that's actually better. What I'm going to do, folks, just to make it easy for you, I'm going to list all the parts and the links in the YouTube video below. And as it gets old or if it changes, I will update these parts. And that way, you're going to be able to find it easily for your build. Let's just focus on the power supply first. I decided to opt for Meanwell. This is a super great quality product, and what I love is that they're actually mounted on rails. You mount that rail on your cabinet and you can just slide the power supply. It makes a very clean cabinet and it does not look like a mess. Love this. I'm going to use 5 volts, 12 volts, and 24 volts. Now I'm going to use a separate 5 volts power supply, and this is for my addressable LEDs. It has to be separate from all the rest of your toys. So this 5 volts, 60 amps will be enough for all our addressable LED needs. Now, something neat that I want to try in this build is to get these kinds of basically wire splitters. They're fairly inexpensive and they work really well. So you got basically one input, and then you put, for example, let's say you have a ground that you want to split in 5 or 6, depending on the different model you get. You put it, clip it, tug on it, it's really secured. It's not coming off. And then on the other hand here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 output for your ground. Makes very clean connections. Here's another model where you can have 2 different wires, for example, a ground and a 12 volts, and then you have your connection, and then on the other end, you have 4 outputs. This is rated for 32 amps, and then the gauge of the wire is from 12 to 28. And here are a few buttons that I'm going to use. I'm going to replace some of the Legends Pinball buttons to something else. These are the different crimp connectors that we're going to use. I got 3 different size. Order that from, again, in bulk, so it's always handy to have them. And this is the clear flipper buttons and then the nudge button that I'm going to use. It's going to be great with addressable LEDs inside. Now this is the leaf switch. I'm going to replace the flippers with the leaf switch, and I'm going to show you a little later a 3D printed part that I'm going to use to mount this switch. Also, using this will improve the latency of the buttons. Now I'm going to add a shaker in the cabinet. Although I do own a Stern shaker, I'm not going to use it in the Atgames Legends Pinball. It is a smaller cab, so I'm going to use this small 12 volt 2000 RPM shaker motor. We're going to get some great results with this. I'm going to show you when I install it. Now this is a gear motor. This is a nice add-on. They're fairly inexpensive, and it adds a lot to the game, so I'm going to add this to the cab. Again, once I install them, I'm going to talk more in details about what they do and how to connect them. Now I have 2 solenoids in the cab. They're for the flippers. If you saw my previous video, it's the Cleveland software solution. This is just a replacement in case it burns out. It should not, but having a few in stock is always a good idea. Now those are going to be my Thunderclaps. I've got 8 of those. They're going to be for the back, the center, and then the slingshots. And then this is actually by Lab Arcades. The link is going to be in the description below. Superb quality, build quality, and that's going to sound great in our cab. Now I savaged the Bally knocker from my old cab. This sounds super great. It works on basically 48 volts or 50 volts, and that adds a lot of noise to the cab. That's going to be amazing. Now can't forget the SSF, which is the surround sound feedback. We're using Dayton exciters. They're 25 watts. I got 4 of those. And that's going to sound great. Now, in addition to this, this is going to be for the basically the 2.0 audio. I've opted for a sub. It's a standalone sub, 600 watt from Pile. The reviews are quite good. I'm looking forward to test this. Also, we're going to have a dual speaker at the front. I'm going to replace the Atgames speakers with this solution here. Now this is going to be my power board to power the speakers and the sub. Now this is basically a 2.1, 2 channel 80 watts, and then 100 watts for the sub. Now we're going to jump into the virtual pinball boards. Now this is Arno's workshop, the Rig Master. That's going to be the brain of the of our build, where we're going to connect the solenoids, the contactors, the buttons. Like what you're seeing here, that's where the buttons are going to connect. The plunger is here, and then we have built-in fuses for the output. We have 8 power with modulation, which allows variation in a current. Love the built-in fuses holder. That's amazing. 16 of them. Now if we flip the board, that's where the KL25Z is going to be. It comes with it, but I just removed it and broke it, so now waiting for another one. This is the mollusk. The mollusk is an expansion board. So if you need more toys, more lights, you connect that to the rig master, and then you're getting yourself additional ports. The little tiny board called a brain. This is basically your pinball volume and rum control, and then it connects directly also on the rig master. Next, we have the MOS light. This is what we're going to use to basically connect the flash bar and the strobe. So you can see here it's marked. So we have the strobe at the left here, and then we have all basically our 5 flashers that also connects to the rig master. Now this board has the fuses built in, so you do not need to add them. Pretty cool. Now I can't wait to test these. It's a strobe. So there are 2 strobes, 12 volts. So everything's built in. You do not need diode resistors. You connect the 12 volt in the ground and it is working. So great solution, and looking forward to install those on my cab. Now this is for the buttons. This is Addressable LEDs buttons. That's going to connect on the Pinmos. So that's going to be a great add-on as well. Now this board, folks, the Pinmos, it is for the Addressable LEDs. Gonna have a full comprehensive tutorial on how to connect your lights coming up. And this is the Pinmos, the board that you see here, and you can basically connect it to your computer via the micro USB cable here. Also has a little test button. Speaking of addressable LEDs, this is what I'm going to use. Those are WS2812. There are 144 LEDs per meter. With quick connectors, makes the connection a lot easier. This is what I love to use. It's a cable management solution where you basically stick that with the double-sided tape, and then you can run your wire, and then you can just kind of fish them through, and it makes a very clean cab. This is going to be our 5 flash bar LEDs. Love those because they are amazing. They're 12 volts. The resistors are already built in. All you need to do is to solder your wires, and then you are set. You want to make your life easier? Purchase the 4-threaded wires, and it comes in a spool like this, and my God, it will make your life a lot easier, and it makes a cleaner cab. You don't have wires running all over the place. If you visit the Arno's website, you will be able to download the STL file for the buttons holder. If you look here on the site, he's got the STL available. You can click on it and then download it on your computer, and you can basically send that to your queue for the printer. So I'm going to add it just to show you how it is. And then you can just start playing with the software, telling you the type of filament you want, and then so on. I'm using PLA to print this. I own a Creator FlashForge Pro Dual, and great little printer. I save the file on my SD card, and then I'm going to print from SD and select the name, which is the support button, and I'm going to click OK. The bed and the extruder are going to heat up. Now here's the final product. I might actually change this to a transparent. I'm not sure yet, but this works well. So the way it works is you're going to screw your leaf switch onto the holder, and then you're gonna put the button you're gonna put the wing nut and attaching the leaf switch, and here we are. Folks, this concludes the overview of the parts I'm going to use in this Legends Pinball virtual pinball cabinet, installing force feedback. So don't worry, everything you see on the table, I'm going to have separate tutorials to show you how to do it step by step, so you will be able to follow along and end up with a very nice cab with force feedback. If you have any questions, if you want to chat about virtual pinball, Discord is the place to be, the virtual pinball chat. Come and join us, over 7,000 members, also a weekly competition. I'll see you in the next video.